Welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast, the photo imaging industry's leading news source. Here's your host, Gary Pageau.
The Dead Pixel Society podcast is brought to you by MediaClip, Photo Finale, Advertech Inc., Got Photo, and the IPI Member Network. Hello again and welcome to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. I'm your host, Gary Pageau, and today we're joined by the leadership of ImageQuix and Capturelife, Scott DeFusco, the founder of Capturelife, and Rich Scanlon, the CEO of ImageQuix. Gentlemen, you've got some big news to share. Why don't you fill us in?
Well, thanks, Gary. Appreciate you having Scott and I on here today. And we're excited to announce as of this week that we are proud partners with Capturelife and have completed a transaction to welcome them to the ASG family with ImageQuix and Photolynx.
So ASG is the parent company of ImageQuix and Photolynx. How will Capturelife fit into that?
So ASG, as you guys well know, is our investment group that has invested over the past few years in photo technology, first with the acquisition of ImageQuix in May of 2018, I believe, and then Photolynx last year in June of 2019. And the partnership with Capturelife, this year is really just extension in our belief and our excitement in the photo technology space. Both in high volume and now in the enterprise experience economy, as we're calling it, enterprise space, that being, resorts, cruises, excursions, theme parks, attractions, just the whole experience economy. And, that notwithstanding the great technology that Scott and his team bring to the high volume market, allowing us to offer, further digital and technology solutions, to a space that we firmly believe in and support. That's our feeling on it. I don't know, Scott, if you had any further thoughts on how that kind of is playing out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just sort of share my excitement for this. I mean, the alignment is incredibly strong because we've been, working with the team at ImageQuix and Photolynx, and we may go into that in more detail. So there's been alignment historically in the school and sports volume market, but our aspirations and our traction into the experience economy is just an exciting extension of our vision, and couldn't be happier to be a part of the ASG portfolio to help us accelerate and realize that vision.
So in terms of people who have been working with ImageQuix and or Capturelife, what will be the day-to-day change that they're going to see?
So right now, there's really no day-to-day change. Scott and his team are remaining, on board, as is one of the founders. Jeff will be transitioning out. He found a new role in the next few months. But Capturelife team, kind of business as usual, with the support of the executive team, including myself, to kind of continue their penetration into the experience market. Our current integrations through our Photolynx products will remain as is as we explore further integrations with the Capturelife technology platform. But it's kind of business as usual in terms of how we're operating the businesses and kind of where they fit into our portfolio. They're very kind of different strategies for us. And so we're excited to offer kind of an additional piece of technology in the high volume space, while also expanding our reach into the experience economy and giving Scott and his team the support they need to penetrate what we believe is a market that's, kind of ripe for disruption. Not only because of, the technology that Scott and his team bring, but also, due to, the global pandemic and COVID, digital products and digital solutions are more relevant than ever when it comes to sharing experiences, both pre, during, and post experience, if you will. So I think, the silver lining in the space, if there can be one, is that, there's opportunity to use technology to provide people with the same type of experience as they've had before.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think we've seen with COVID is it has accelerated some people's expansion or retreats from various markets. We've seen people, doubling down on, for example, in the retail space, they've been, doubling down on mobile applications and with, online services. And I think in the pro photography space, we're seeing more of a interest in digital downloads and things like that, just because you don't have to deal with a lab. It's less touch, fewer contacts, things like that.
Yeah, we're absolutely seeing that. I mean, that's actually a bright spot, as Rich said, in this current situation. Is I saw an illustration on this, a cartoon back in like April or so, where it had people in an office building in a boardroom, and you're looking in from the outside, and they're talking about digital transformation plans. And someone says, I think we could put that off for another year or two. And then you see this COVID wrecking ball coming at the building. And it sort of illustrates what's happening out there is, as you said, people that have relied on the old, cell photos and souvenirs and touch screens and high, interaction with staff. That is not going to fly anymore. And so people are accelerating their digital transformation plans, and it's opened up some really interesting opportunities for us that that we have a much better way to capitalize on now, being part of the ASG team.
Yeah, especially in the school space, because I was speaking to some of the CEOs of some of the school photography companies recently, and part of the discussion was around, even after COVID departs, a lot of the business processes of contactless capture and those type of processes are going to continue. They're not going to go away. And people aren't going to go back, is the thing. So I think that's important going forward, is looking at, kind of what ImageQuix has, what Photolynx has, what Capturelife has, and in terms of addressing not only what's happening now, but the future.
I think that's a great point, Gary. And I think we've been a big proponent, even before the pandemic, on the value of going digital and selling online, and your ability to extract maximum value in average order value and number of people purchasing through digital marketing, online selling. And that's a drum we've been beating for a few years now. And I think people were skeptical, but customers who have made the switch, either, because they, saw what was needed coming down the pike, or they were basically forced to, by the schools and sports leagues that they worked with, the value has been proven out, I think, in terms of the ability to generate revenue. I mean, one of the biggest things we saw in March when, all the spring shoots got canceled and things got shut down was people needed a way to make money. And we resurfaced old jobs from years ago, and people were able to generate real money from that and keep their businesses afloat to a certain degree. And stories like that have happened all year. And I think it's really proven out that, a digital solution and an online solution can make your life easier, make it more streamlined, and allow you to have an ongoing engagement with the customer beyond just kind of the dead end transaction, as we call it.
So going forward, there's still Photolynx, there's still ImageQuix, and there's still Capturelife, but they're going to be more interconnected.
Yes. So the way to think about it, and I know sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. We see the brands as three distinct and strong brands as a standalone. Photolynx obviously has been, a bedrock of high volume, workflow solutions for many years in the space. ImageQuix, market leader in e-commerce, and then you have Capturelife, which is best in class, digital only delivery. So there's three kind of distinct brands there with, three very distinct use cases. So we feel strongly about the brands. We run our culture as one entity, but we feel good about bringing those, three different perspectives and really expertise to the marketplace. And yes, we'll continue to build out our integrations and our operations together as we move forward as one company.
So going forward, let's talk a little bit about the experience economy opportunity. Scott, you've brought in Rob Malden from Disney to kind of shepherd you into that space. Can you talk a little bit about what the real potential there is for theme parks, entertainment venues, and sources of income like that?
Yeah, Rob's a good vehicle to talk through that. So when Rob was at Disney, he was with the cruise lines first, and then he ran imaging for all Disney parks and resorts. And he was responsible for the PhotoPass, rollout. So anybody that's experienced PhotoPass with the magic bands and, all your photos streaming into that app, that was a separate app before. And then they saw the amount of views that app was getting. And Disney strategically decided to move that PhotoPass experience into the main Disney app.
Right.
And within 3 weeks, that became the number one viewed part of the Disney app. So that's our value proposition. As Rich explained, we embed our whole experience into native apps for major brands. The ones we're talking to are cruise lines, resorts. We just rolled out with Club Med, for example, over the Christmas holidays. And the strategy there is they need to connect with their consumers more effectively before, during, and after that experience, like a vacation. And so using the memories to do that is treating those memories not as souvenirs, but as strategic brand assets. And that allows us to have an ongoing connection with the consumer and sell more. So it's really a sales and brand loyalty weapon for these experience creating brands.
And instead of selling, a $25 8x10, what you're selling is the entire experience, right? The entire, boy, I had a great time at Club Med. When it comes time to go on another destination vacation, maybe I should look at that again.
Absolutely. And so we also are co-opting their personally captured content.
Right.
So a lot of times, photography businesses would look at that and they try to avoid that.
Right.
Well, we actually co-opt that user and professionally generated content. We'll enhance it with things like brand overlays and things like that to enhance that and make it more shareable. But then as people are reliving those memories in the future after their experience, we're able to give them a virtual tap on the shoulder on behalf of the company and say, hey, here's a special on your next vacation, as you're reliving the past one, create some new memories. Yeah. And so it's selling not just more photo-related products, but even more importantly, more experiences for the company that's hosting.
Now, when in the embedded app experience, are you just how much custom work do you have to do with a venue, for example, in terms of offering some of those touch point experiences, or is it you're just an embedded app and you can select from these features and these assets and these opportunities and go to town, or is there a lot of cross-pollination with customers?
No, it's really what you were describing, the latter. So what we do is we literally snap into the host native app. We have a progressive web app that allows us to snap in. It can be easily skinned to match the branding of the whole app so it feels seamless. And then we unlock all of that power. They select what products they want to offer, what overlays, maybe backgrounds, video products that we offer, animated GIFs that are all, we'll work with them to come up with the brand version of those. But the whole experience is offered through that product that snaps in. And what's nice about it is we already have single sign-on capabilities. So when someone's in the main app, they just tap the photo experience button in their app and they're in the Capturelife experience.
And so, Rich, what is the sort of the technology piece that ImageQuix brings to that? Because there's some e-commerce potential there, correct?
Yes, correct. There's a couple things that both, Photolynx and ImageQuix, we see long-term in terms of the experience economy. Right now, a majority of the enterprises in that space will have their own merchants and e-commerce solutions. So from a merchant aspect, we can provide that as an added service, but most of the time they're going to have their own. But building out the storefront for that is something definitely ImageQuix can be complementary to Capturelife for. And that's a long-term vision of ours. And then on the workflow piece, that's just, that is kind of like if you look out 2 to 3 years from now, photo operations, in the experience space is not that streamlined. They have not adopted, a lot of them are using in-house technology. So the workflow piece is actually something that's super interesting. But again, more long-term, I think our plan is, to land digitally with a front-end B2C, product, of which Capturelife, fits that bill perfectly. And then there's the underlying complementary products, as you mentioned, with our e-commerce solution and ImageQuix and our workflow solutions through Photolynx. And those are longer term opportunities we see in the experience economy. But the land and expand would be with the Capturelife digital, storefront, if you will, or delivery products right now. But that's definitely something that's been a longer term play on our mind. Again, going back to this, changing, how we look at, the relationship between photographer and subject, on an ongoing basis with, technology.
I think it's interesting, Scott, you mentioned sort of the reluctance of venues to intermingle consumer content or guest content with their own professional content, but that's really what people want. I mean, what they really want is a customized experience where those things are intermingled.
Absolutely. And, all these companies are, challenged continuously to come up with more creative content that adds value.
Sure.
And, embracing the user-generated content is yet another dimension of that. So you have the whole memory experience. It really makes everything more sticky because now your user-generated content that you shared in your professional are in the same place. They're sitting within the brand app that hosted the whole experience for you. And so it just it's that Disney proposition, it creates that value where you're not going to delete that app and you're going to revisit it. And then we can sell you more.
Now, being an old school person like I am, I still like hard copy output, and and a lot of people and a lot of consumers do, and that's still going to continue as an opportunity within these things. I mean, obviously, digital would probably be at the forefront, but if somebody wants to put, their happy snap with Mickey, they can make a mug or something with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've never come into the market saying that you need to replace your workflow. You need to replace the way you sell. You need to replace print with digital. Our value proposition is that digital is an important part of the whole consumer experience, as prints are. They're incredibly valuable to people. So we often are part of a go-to-market model for companies that include both.
Right.
That is the predominant model. And in fact, when people leave an experience, we have a print store built in so that they can purchase print products. We just rolled one out for Club Med where we can now fulfill virtually anywhere in the world because those people come from everywhere.
Sure.
And so you're right. It's still very valuable.
And I think that's one of the things that, people are kind of wary of, which I think led to some of the reluctance of adopting some mobile and digital technologies is, what happens to my printing press or what happens to my heat press or my mug press or whatever, is because if I push digital too hard, this thing is going to go away. And I just don't think that's what's going to happen. I think people are going to print differently. They may print, a different sort of different picture on a different medium, but they're still going to want some sort of hard copy output to commemorate that event. So is that something that's been borne out in the data, either on the school side and or the event side?
On the school side, definitely. I think, and it's manifested itself in the amount of increase we've seen on the novelty side of things. The e-commerce platform has allowed you to offer many, many more items for sale beyond, your basic 8x10.
Right.
I mean, when you're doing a paper form, there's only so many things you can fit on one piece of paper, and you don't want to create a booklet of 10 different, ordering options.
Right.
But using a digital storefront, it changes the game completely because you can target market, you can move items on and off based on the school you're going after. I mean, it's really like the possibilities are endless when you're using an online solution. So it's really less about, digital photos, and it's more about being able to reach your customer in a variety of ways and pushing a variety of print and novelty products. So that's really kind of like the most tangible evidence of the positive impact that online and technology has provided the photography industry, is allowing you to get as creative as you want with the size of prints, the number of packages. Because one of the things that the data has borne out, and we have lots of data on the e-commerce side, is the more creative your options are and the packages you have, the more you're able to sell. Sure. Because you're able to kind of reach each individual buyer in a distinct way that seems very personal, and that gets them to spend more money. Sure. Beyond just like, hey, here are your standard 5 choices that kind of historically would have been available if you bought through the school. Going online allows you to do 5 choices plus 20 permutations of that, and I'm going to add in ornaments or paperweights or whatever have you. I mean, that's really how the data has borne out the positive impact that online and technology has provided the high volume industry.
One of the things I think you've hit on there is the change in the relationship between the subject of a school portrait, or the customer, which is the parent, and the school versus the lab. Because in the old days, the school would be sort of the intermediary. People didn't deal directly with the lab very much. And nowadays, the lab or the photographer is dealing directly with the consumer. So they can offer things like ornaments and mugs and like you said, the novelty items. Whereas, the school, it's just, they want the pictures and the ID badges. They're not really interested in monetizing that. They really actually not bother the parents. They like to bother the parents as least as possible. So I think that what the type of thing you're doing is a good response to that, where once you have the access to the direct access to the customer, you have those opportunities, and it kind of turns photographers away from being production environments to marketing engines, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think the other piece is the immediacy. Mm-hmm. We've become, and speed to revenue as we call it. I mean, we've become a society of, I need it now, I want it now, I need it faster. Sure. And using, automated workflows and software and technology to, we call it click to cash, from when you take the picture to when you're actually able to realize revenue from it. Using technology has sped that up. I don't even know the order of magnitude on that, but you can go from taking a photo to selling it in 24 hours.
Right.
And getting it shipped, that same day.
Yeah.
So that emotional attachment you have to that experience, whether it being taking your school photos or, your yearbook photo or your action shots, at a sporting event, mm-hmm. or you're at a concert or something, the immediacy of being able to interact with that memory, is invaluable. And we've seen that plays out in the data. The sooner you're able to reach, a customer with a product they want, the more they're willing to pay for it. The longer you wait, the less interest there is, and the more work you have to do to sell the same thing.
There's really sort of a diagram we've been working with sort of illustrates that, where it's really a curve, in the sense that a photo has a high value nearer to the event of the capture, right? I mean, everyone's kind of excited about their 2020 holiday Christmas pictures, right? In June, probably not so much. But later on, could be years, could be decades, that picture is going to be more valuable again, right? Yep. So the who knows when that time is. So it's going to be very difficult to monetize that. But like you said, if you can monetize those pictures closer to the time of capture, you've got a better opportunity.
Yeah. It's an inverse U, right, is the way to look at it. It's like highest value at the beginning, and then there's a period of, disinterest, or the memory is forgotten, and then it comes back at a certain point. You're right. Like on the far right of that, it's very hard to understand that. But everyone, I think there's a consensus that the beginning part is super valuable, and it's a better customer experience.
Sure.
If I'm able to, deliver on that emotional attachment sooner, it's a better experience, for the subject, for the purchaser.
Mhm.
And it doesn't just have to be the parent. Using marketing and digital allows you to reach the grandparent more easily, the friends, the aunts, the uncles, the
Sure.
brothers, the sisters. I mean, that it kind of the web of, potential customers expands greatly by using digital marketing channels and technology to do that.
I think one of the things that is really impacting the market nowadays is the change from a production mentality to a customer first mentality, in the sense that 8x10s were offered not because customers said I really want an 8x10, but because that's what the lab could produce efficiently and they could charge enough money and a high enough margin to offer. And nowadays the idea is, let's give the customer what they want, and whether it's an 8x10 or not, it's not as production focused. And that's something where I think the photo industry has been kind of late to the market on, right? Because it's always been very production driven. We can make this size print, so therefore we should offer this size print, not whether or not the customer really wants it or not, but that's what we're going to give them. And if they want to have their pictures, this is the way we give them to them. And that's not the way the world works these days.
And I think we've seen that. So and that's what that's the exciting part, of this time period, is that our customers are now able to express more of what they'd like to do. Mm-hmm. And we can use technology to try to give them that, because we're all driven by, what do our studios and labs want? And they are spending the time to understand what the customers want. And then we in turn develop technology to do that. So right. That's the exciting part, is that, we're very early stage in this. And so I think the idea that, the space was, I think, hampered by the, singular avenue of, okay, I can only go through the school and I can only interact one time. And I think that has been, something that we've tried to overcome for a long period of time. And I think COVID has accelerated the thinking on, hey, there's actually a much bigger universe out there, and this can be a business that grows. I can have a business that can grow, with the same amount of input and inventory, if you will, of subjects. But if I can expand my market, I can grow my business. And I think people are starting to figure that out now, and that's getting people very excited. We've had numerous examples of customers, getting excited about the space because it's just like breathing new life into their ability to grow their business and make money, which is super excited for us because, our whole mission is, to make our customers happy and to help them be successful, because if they're successful, we're successful.
So going forward, we're at the beginning of 2021. What do you see as the opportunities going forward for the year? Hopefully the COVID-19 pandemic will be waning as the vaccinations continue and schools begin to open and people resume more normal activities. Are you optimistic?
I can chime in. I'm incredibly optimistic, actually, because while things are still slowly coming back, they are coming back. So, for example, one of our customers is an excursion company in Jamaica, Belize, and Turks and Caicos called Chuck Adventures. They've started coming back. We've started seeing orders flowing again. Now, it's not at the same level because they rely a lot on the cruise lines to drive, guests to their business, but they're opening back up. I mentioned Club Med. They're opening back up at a lower capacity, but we're starting to see activity now, and we'll be rolling out to more resorts here over the next couple of months. And so, and the cruise lines, we are involved with some major cruise lines, and while they, the CDC guidelines force them to shift their sailing dates to more of the March time frame. Now they're making plans, and there's more of I think when the vaccine, plan came out, now there's that light and people see it. And so the plans are starting to accelerate, which is accelerating the discussions with us. So I'm very optimistic. It's going to, 2021 still going to, it's going to be a slower comeback, but we do see it coming back. It's already starting.
What about in the school space, Rich?
Yeah. So in the school space, I mean, it's very, as you know, you have your finger on the pulse, Gary. It's very regionally, state, local specific to the impact of our customer base. So, we've seen both sides of it. I think all in all, you look at states like California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. Obviously they've taken a different approach than like a Florida or a Texas or the Midwest. So it's very regionally focused. Mm-hmm. I think what we've learned is that school is a very important part of American life, and it is one of the first things that people are looking to do and get going again once the situation presents itself. Mm-hmm. So we're obviously bullish, on the school and high volume space. It's just a question of timing for these regions and localities. So because we've seen the gamut, right? We've seen people have, very, very strong years because they were able to shoot, but they had to go 100% online. So all of the things we just talked about were very, very relevant for them. And then we've had customers who've had it very challenging just because, the local government approach has made it hard for them to do it. So sure. We've run the gamut of that experience, and we're here for all of our customers. But all in all, I think the consensus is that school is a very important part. School pictures are a very, very important part of the experience, and it creates a memory that people want to commemorate, and that is not going to change going forward. It's just a question of, when do we get, everyone back to full strength? And that's harder to tell. If I could sit here and predict, the turn in COVID, I could probably enter the stock market myself. But that's really what we've seen. It's the local approach on the one end, but on the other end, I think across the board, it's recognized that school and the school experience is very, very important.
Mm-hmm. So how do people going forward reach out to you guys and contact you? I mean, there's not industry events, unfortunately, in the near term to interact with. I mean, physical ones, I should say. There are some online events coming up. So how can people learn more about the ImageQuix, Photolynx, Capturelife monolith?
So probably a couple of different ways on our end, and then Scott, I'll let you take that as well. So we're going to be at SPAC, the high volume trade show annually that happens virtually. Photolynx and ImageQuix will have a big presence there, as they always do. And then at the end of June, we actually host our own trade show every year. It's MVP Mastering Volume Photography that was started by Tim and Photolynx. Yep. Last year was supposed to be our 10-year anniversary. It got bumped this year. So that's going to be the end of June. And
would actually be a physical event, do you think?
Yeah, it will be a physical event. That's what we're planning on right now. It's going to be in Las Vegas. We'll be marketing it. We have a website. If you go to the Photolynx website, you can find a link to that. But yeah, we're planning it to be live. And actually the industry is, hoping that that's the first in-person event. Fingers crossed that, by the end of June, we're able to gather in groups again. But that's really kind of like the two kind of widespread, events where we'll be heavily present. Obviously, you can go to our websites, ImageQuix.com and Photolynx.com. Go to our social sites. We monitor them as well. And then on the Capturelife side, Scott and his team have built a wonderful website. And Scott, I don't know if you want to talk about a little bit of the best way to reach, the Capturelife folks.
Yeah, so we'll be at some of those same events, but more part of the ImageQuix Photolynx teams, at those events. And there's some other industry events that we're looking at in the experience economy space, but they're typically back-ended like IAPA. But as Rich said, the Capturelife website, we really try to keep content, relevant industry best practices, and also news and product news on a regular basis, going through there. So subscribing is a great way to stay connected, but also Scott at Capturelife.com. If anybody has any, wants some more background on this or wants any more background on Capturelife, feel free to contact me at that email address.
Yep, and we have our info at ImageQuix.com. If you want to reach out to any of our team. My team is way smarter than me. So based on the question, I will direct it to the appropriate party. Scott's a founder, so he's already proved that he's smarter than me. I don't invent anything or make anything up.
Your leadership, you provide leadership though.
Hopefully
that's
do.
An intangible. See, that's one of those things that, it's intangible.
I hope I do. You'd have to ask Tim and Alex and Scott about that. But don't believe anything they say. But yeah, no, we're super excited about the opportunity. I think, we have Scott put out a blog post. If you want to learn more about kind of our, kind of our excitement about the deal, Scott's got a blog post out on the website. We're sharing the press release via email and through our website. So if you want to learn a little bit more about it, please feel free to go to our sites and check out the various content we've created around the deal. But Gary, thanks so much for the opportunity to come on today and to talk about this. Like I said, we're super excited and bullish on the future, and we're very optimistic, about the health and the state of photo technology, both in high volume and enterprise, and we're excited about the potential for our customers to be successful.
Great. Well, listen, thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and we'll hopefully see you again in 2021 sometime soon.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you for listening to the Dead Pixel Society podcast. Read more great stories and sign up for the newsletter at www.thedeadpixelssociety.com.